to find a little bit out about your background here, and we want to put your first memory going back as far as you can. What is your first memory of?
We went to that school rehearsal, and I was supposed to speak a piece, and when I got up there, I got almost through, and I had to stick my thumb in my pocket. And I couldn't find my pocket because there was gathers in my skirt, you know, and everybody clapped. And I thought they was making fun of me.
Oh.
So I got scared, and I ran off the platform down there where Lena Halleck was and stuck my head in her lap. She says, "Oh, the people think you're cute." And I couldn't see it that way. But that's what my fun that night.
Oh, yeah.
How old were you?
Right.
How old
I
were
was
you?
about 4.5 years old, I think. I wasn't quite old enough to go to school anyway. Right.
Where did you live, and what do you remember about?
Well, we lived on Cub Creek, they called it, down a little creek run by, and we had lots of fun in that little creek playing and swimming when it was hot, you know. And then in the wintertime, it'd run over and make a big ice.
Oh, so you could ice skate.
And then we could ice skate.
Oh, yeah.
Had lots of fun. I wasn't big enough to have skates, but I just had lots of fun skating on my shoes. You know.
What about your house? Now, your house, you said, it's a sod?
Yeah, the old house that I was born in was sod and log and frame.
Mm.
And
well, how was the logs were on the side and then the sod on top?
Oh no, each room was different.
Oh.
The main part was log, and it had 2 rooms below and 2 or 3, and then upstairs. And then the bedroom was sod, and the kitchen was frame. They just built onto it, see. They made the log, and then they built onto it.
Oh, I see.
And
I thought maybe it was the sod.
And we lived in there until 1900.
I see.
When we built the new house.
And then that was an
That was a big house, 4 bedrooms upstairs, and big. We had a small kitchen and a dining room and a living room and a bedroom downstairs.
Mm-hmm. No bathroom.
Right,
no bathroom.
We had a bathroom upstairs.
Oh, yes, you
did. But we never had any water. We had to carry the water up. Take a bath.
Oh,
so we didn't use it too much. We did though, and we had a little kerosene stove for heat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'd be cold in there to take your bath. You had to heat it up before you could take your bath.
So you just carried it?
They just carried the water up and down. It wasn't much fun.
No.
What did your father do?
What?
Was he a farmer?
Yeah, he was a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was about 11, I helped him sled corn. They call it sled corn. When it got up about that high, well, you couldn't cultivate it. You might cover it up, see. Mm-hmm. And so that was 2 little runners, and it helped the dirt from coming in on the corn. And covering it up, and they call it sledding. And so I helped him. And I had horses, and my father had mules.
How old were you when you did that?
Well, I suppose I was about 12 years old then. But when he asked me what I wanted the doll. So he got me a real pretty doll.
Oh, for helping him do that. Well, you had now at that place too, you had like what you call a goose heaven?
Goose heaven, yeah.
And how did it get its name?
Well, it got its name by my folks raised geese. And they seemed to like to go up there on top of there. And they did have a big time, and then they'd fly clear down to Cub Creek. And they liked to go down there, so that got its name by that.
Hmm. You had, didn't you have a favorite horse that you had, his name was Tony? How old were you when you got him? Did you?
Oh, I was pretty old then.
Oh, you were.
We had horses before that, but he was my man. He's the one I bought myself.
Oh, you bought him?
Yeah, after I taught school.
Yeah. And you had him after
I had him until, well, he got distemper and died.
Oh, is that?
I don't
I
remember.
didn't realize.
Well, that was after we was married.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you remember.
Yeah.
We had him when I was married. So.
What about grammar school? Did you, do you remember about school that you attended? And how far was it? Did you have
about just a mile. We walked to school. My first teacher was Mr. Pheasant, a man. We had to learn ABCs. That is all we learned, you know. Didn't mean much to us, but he let us go out and play. Whenever we wanted to, we'd get up and drive. Then we'd come in and have our lesson.
As long as you learned
I guess we
ABCs.
finally learned our ABC.
Oh, well, how old were you when you started teaching? You taught yourself.
17.
17.
You didn't have to go to college before that. You took a teacher's examination, and if you passed, you could teach school.
What grades did you
That's
teach?
right.
What grades did you teach?
Every grade.
That was like the type of school we went to.
The first school I
Right.
taught was, I had 25 scholars. And I don't know how many grades, most of the grades. And boys, it was older than I was.
We're going to school.
The first day of school, when I come home, I just so tired I laid down to rest.
I can imagine. I've done that at work.
I wondered what you got yourself into.
But
For
I
sure.
got along pretty good, and then I kept teaching. I taught 6 years, and I taught 2 years the same place. I rode horseback 2 miles to there. It's just a mile there. Then Mama and I went out to Oman Evans in Oregon in 21. And we stayed all winter. And the next time, we stayed all winter. When we came home, that was in around Thanksgiving time. And we was on the train, and we got up in the mountains, and we got a snow slide in front of us and behind the train. And we just stayed there for a long time, 2 nights, and then a day, and then the next day, a boat came up, and we tied newspapers around. The snow got clear up to our knees, knee deep, and we tied them. And one man gave my mother a pair of socks to put on, so she could walk. We had to walk about a quarter of a mile to the boat, right through that snow, way about knee
Where
deep.
were you in the mountains? At a boat
Well,
would be
it's close to Klamath Falls.
Klamath Falls. Oh, yeah.
In Oregon. And then we went back to Oregon on the boat, and we took a train and went clear up in Washington and around, and then we was going to Boise, Idaho to chump tissue, my cousin. And they just looked for us, and they didn't know where we were, and so we didn't come there, so they went over to Nampa, Oregon, that wasn't, yeah, I think that's what, anyway, Nampa. Anyway, we went there, they went over there to meet us, and then we came to Boise. That'd be Idaho.
Boise, Idaho.
Oh, yeah. That's Nampa, Idaho.
Yeah.
And so they had their son and a neighbor to meet us if we did come there. Well, they went over there, so Gerald was just little and as their son. And they met us, and he come right up to me and says, "Oh, I'd know you any time by Mrs. Tissue." And I wasn't any relation to her.
Well, that was a boo-boo.
I got a relation to, but anyway, you got the right And then Gerald told us how things were, and we got supper and ate and went to bed. So they come about midnight from Napa. They waited till the train come in, and we wasn't there. They was feeling pretty bad. And we was in bed, so he'd come in and look. So they said, "We was there." Chump said, "I can't believe it. I'll have to look in." So he looked in. We was in bed. So and we stayed there quite a little while at Boise.
Well, you took another trip, too, to Colorado in a covered wagon.
Yeah, that was when...
I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, that's right. That come before that.
Yeah, that came before. I don't know what year was that. You must have been pretty young.
That was 1980.
1980.
See,
Well,
how
then
old were
Uncle
you?
Dale was only about 7 years
Yeah,
old.
he's about 7 years old, I expect.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it.
And you were how old?
How old was I?
Mm-hmm.
I went here about 14, I expect.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Mhm.
I was in the 7th grade
Mm-hmm.
when we went
Now,
to school.
how long did that take you to get out there? When you,
13 weeks.
Gee.
To Yellowstone Park we went. And then we was in the park a week. My cousin went with us, Selman Tissue and his wife, and they was on their honeymoon. And when they got to the park, they sold their wagon and horses. And they come back. He is the manager of the store at Mills, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
oh,
And so they went home, and we went to Rifle, Colorado, and stayed all winter and went to school.
Well, I remember you were saying on the way, was that in Yellowstone where your horses were stolen?
Yes.
Yeah, and you
Or
did.
Yellowstone. No, that was the 4th of July.
Well, that was in
No,
Wyoming.
Yes, that was in Wyoming on our way out.
Yeah. They had, your horses were stolen and.
All of them were stolen, but the man drove them off and shut them up so they couldn't. We thought they'd come home, you know, come to the wagons, they always would. But
Uh-huh.
this man, he took my dad all around looking for him, and he knew where there was all the time, see. He just, he had to pay him for, and then he wanted to come next day and help, and Dad said, no, said, I'm gonna get the sheriff. That scared him, so he went up and let the horses out, and they come home.
He had them all the time?
Yeah, he had them in that little pen, he'd shut them up.
Oh,
But the
yeah.
sheriff come, and they made him leave town.
Yes.
But mine, we scared, because we didn't know what we was gonna do. Didn't have any. We had one saddle horse left. And didn't get him, we had him,
For quite a few people.
What?
Yeah.
For quite a few people.
Yeah.
What would you do with all the covered wagons? I mean, you know, they would just
Right.
be there. You wouldn't know what to do with the covered wagons if you didn't
why
have
no,
horses.
we'd have to get
pull.
more horses, I suppose.
Yeah, and they would be expensive, I'm sure, at that time.
That is at Buffalo, Wyoming.
Mm-hmm. Buffalo,
They
Wyoming.
celebrate, that's where we celebrate.
You were glad to get out of there, I bet.
We're glad to get out of there.
Yeah. You went to school in Rifleman.
Yeah, I went to
But
school
that-
and I
yeah.
took the 7th grade there. Then I come home and finished 8th grade, and then I took my teacher.
In fact, remember.
We like Colorado though. I've liked it ever since.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
mountains are so
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, it is pretty
Climb
up
the
there.
mountains and
Mm-hmm.
Remember a few years ago when we went to Rifle again?
it's what.
Remember a few years ago when we went to Rifle? We went
Yes.
back to
Now,
that
that's
school.
when Barry and Rick were just little.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how old Barry was. Rick,
You remember?
Barry doesn't
Well,
remember.
Barry
Eight,
doesn't remember.
He's probably about 8 or 9.
Mhm.
And you had fun climbing the mountains then,
Mhm.
when we was going out there. Can you remember?
Oh, I can't.
They had lots of fun. Then I went to Rifle and stayed all night. We went
Mhm.
around and looked at the schoolhouse. And it was all, they had a new schoolhouse, and they had that for a nursery, the old schoolhouse. And everything changed a lot. But I went to the church where we were baptized, the Christian church, just a little church, and it was still there. And the minister took me in and took all of us in and showed us all around. And they remodeled it a lot. And it was real nice. So we enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
Not bad.